Evening everyone, Angus Campbell here again. Here we are, back at the same spot, Wednesday the 7th of August. Right, we're going to keep plodding on with this, taking a bit of a step at a time. It's taken a little time, I know, but we're getting there slowly but surely. And there's a few more bits and pieces we can do on this side while we're awaiting parts before we move to the other side. And come back to this side when certain parts arrive. So firstly, following on from yesterday, found a replacement circlip for the one that was broken on the end of the starter spindle there, so that's fixed. Next thing, we were looking at the tab washer for the clutch nut, and this is the official tab washer, not the one that we showed yesterday. I'm just wondering how this worked, and we've managed to fathom that, and I remember that from when I built the Bandit over there, crikey, a few years ago now when we got that on the road. But if we look closely at the clutch hub, you might be able to just see it there, but let me see. One, let's get it steady, and two, let's see if we can shine a bit of light. You might be able to see, just on the right hand side of that nut, there's a little tiny hole. There's a better shot of it. Just to the right of the nut there, you can see a hole in the clutch centre, and that hole is where that right hand tab slots into to keep that tab washer stationary, and then these two flats on the other side are then pressed up against the nut, so this tab washer goes behind the nut. So that's that one sorted. So we'll just put that into position now. But the other thing that I've noticed as well, we put the clutch on with the Woodruff key and tightened up the nut yesterday, but now what's happened is both, I mean, at the moment, one of these parts should be free. So the clutch hub is on the gearbox shaft. The gearbox is in gear and not quite lined up at the moment, so that's fixed. But the trouble is the chain wheel basket on the clutch is fixed now as well, so there's something wrong there. So we'll take the clutch off anyway, because we want to put that tab washer on just to put it into position. And then we'll see what's going on with the back of that clutch. I've got a feeling that yesterday when we were tapping around with it, then the centre may have slid off slightly, and therefore the rollers and the thrust washer at the back may be out of alignment. So we'll just check that now. Yep, so lo and behold, took the nut off the centre, just pulled the clutch slightly in one piece, trying to anyway, but anyway, rollers fell out everywhere, so I've got to get the 25 back together again, and we'll put the clutch together again. So unfortunately, when we were fiddling around with it yesterday, the hub must have come off the centre slightly, which I think it did. So I mean, the basket then fell away and all the rollers started falling all over the place. So let's get that back together now. Okay, there we go, all the rollers back in, all 25. So as you can see, no gaps, hardly any gaps between them, so that's good. So we'll put the clutch back together with the hub on the splines there and back on the shaft, tighten that up and see how we get on from there. I've just got a bit of a concern that as this edge here is a bit proud of that edge there, that this might press on too far and therefore press onto the back of the clutch basket. However, if the flat washer, where are we? Here we are. If this flat washer, which goes on there, is only able to press down so far onto the splines there, and it doesn't compress this sufficiently, then we should be alright. So anyway, that's the next test, so we'll get that on and I'll bring you back. Right, so immediately I think we've got a problem in that you'll see that the inner shaft, end of the inner shaft, is below the top of the splines on the outer shaft, and therefore as this centre washer presses down on the outer shaft, which is correct, it's going to actually push the hub and trap, I think, the basket at the back. So we'll put it on now, and I'm sure that's going to be the case, but let's do a test. And then we'll have another think, and I might have actually get the parts book out for the B35SS, just make sure that what we're doing here is correct, as this should be the same. Right, clutch back together, built up again. Back onto the gearbox main shaft taper. You can't see it very well, but the tab washer is in there. You can just see the tab going in the hole there, and then you've got the two main tabs here that will bend over to the nut when we do the final build. But the problem is that I've tightened up that nut and the whole clutch is locked because this clutch hub is getting pressed onto the rollers and the back of the basket and basically compressing it together. And we've already left out the thrust washer, which actually makes things worse. So there's either something wrong here, or we've got to pack out the centre there behind this nut a little more with another washer just on the central area of the spline. So I'm going to get out the parts book now for the B35SS and just do a bit of looking up in there to see if there's something obvious we're doing wrong here. You know, we'll solve this, and we'll try and investigate it in this video. But these are just the things that you expect to come across when you're trying to deal with a motor where effectively there were never ever any ultimately pure production parts manufactured. They were all, you know, very small batches or one-offs and modifications all the way along the line. And we know with this motor, especially with the cases, that we've actually mated together what were effectively mismatched parts between the cases and the barrel. We already know that, but we've done enough work to make them fit, and we'll do that on this occasion. So let's dig out that other parts book and just do some comparisons. Right, here we go, 1971 250 models. So this is B25SS, B25T. Onto the requisite page. You'll run past it. There we go. Right. Yeah, sorry, I'm just looking at this. So there is a thrust washer there. There's the rollers. Right, there should be 25 rollers, that's correct. The thrust washer, well, let's put you over here so you can see yourself. Thrust washer 573931, and that's the same. Think. What else can we check? Right, let me just put you down for a second. I'm just going to cross-reference some of the other parts with the E35 parts book as well, just to make sure the part numbers are common, and I'll bring you back. Right then, comparing that with that, and actually the major components are the same part numbers. So the hub and the chain wheel, or the basket as I call it, are the same part numbers, as is the thrust washer and the rollers. The clutch centre back plate is a different part number, as is the clutch centre. So you just wonder if on the original there was sort of a different size shoulder, which then would mean that, you know, you could alter the distances between the two, the outer and the inner spline. So I think what we're going to have to do is I'm going to rebuild that yet again, and we're going to put the thrust washer at the back because that's correct. And then we're going to have to find a spacer. And let me take this apart and just explain again what we're going to need to do, I think. Right, so let's explain the problem. The clutch is off. I haven't got the rollers in, but I've got the thrust washer in at the back. Let me just turn it over and show you. So the thrust washer's in at the back. And the clutch centre is on the clutch hub, on its splines. And you can see, so there's the clutch, this is the clutch hub here. And these are the splines, as you can see, going around here. And this is the clutch centre. And you can see that clutch centre is proud of the clutch hub. There's a step there. And what is it? It's quite a big, let's turn it around that way. You can see it's quite a big step. No, maybe 32nd of an inch. So what is happening is that when I put the right washer in, and that is correct, and it has to, the nut with that washer has to secure the hub side of the splines. Otherwise, you know, you secure the central hub, sorry, the centre side of the splines. Otherwise, if this washer wasn't the same diameter and just pressed down on the centre here, then of course this clutch centre would pull away off its splines because there's nothing to actually hold it there. So that's why, one, this washer is very thick, that's correct. So it has to go across the whole splines so that when you tighten up the nuts, it's tightening down on the outer spline side, which is the clutch centre side. But the trouble is, when you've got, you know, a discrepancy like that ridge there, it's going to actually push the centre onto what's ever at the back of it, and on the back of it is the clutch chain wheel, the basket, clutch basket. So it's going to actually then trap the chain wheel against the back face of the centre and the back flange of the hub and the thrust washer. So therefore it doesn't allow it to turn. So what we've got to do is find really just a washer, a fairly thick washer, that's the right diameter for the sleeve nut, so it can fit in correctly. There it is. But with an outer diameter of less than the splines on the centre, i.e. so it'll sit inside that ridge and provide a bit of a spacer. And that will then prevent it from actually tightening up against the chain wheel. It'll just tighten up against the hub spline itself in the centre there. So hopefully that explains it in a long-winded way. So one step forward, one step back with this one. Let me just have a quick look now for a suitable sized washer. I don't hold out too much hope, but I've got plenty in stock. But it's going to be the combination of the inner and outside diameter that's going to be a problem. Not necessarily the outer diameter itself. So let's see what we can come up with. Okay everyone, no joy. I've not been able to find anything that's close. I've got one or two big discs that I could probably make a washer from, but we'll have a look round on the net to see if we can anything close, and we'll use the vernier to measure up the outer diameter of that sleeve and then the outer diameter of the inner spline of that, and that's what we want. So not done too well tonight really. It looks less complete than it did last night, but anyway, yeah, a bit slow progress on this side, but these are the things that we and the challenges that we need to overcome. So we'll keep at it, and we'll end that one for there now, keep it fairly short, and I'll see you again next time, when we might be carrying on this side, or we might go to the other side and just try and make a bit more progress on that. Or indeed, we might go over to the A70L and do a bit of wiring on that. We're still waiting for the crank reground and crankcase repair on that to be completed. I'm expecting that a notification of that pretty soon. To be honest, I'm going to go and pick that up and do the odd one on that. But at the moment, anyway, let's keep focused on this, try and keep moving forward. Thanks again for watching, thanks for your interest, and see you again soon. Thanks everybody, bye bye.